Hello, everyone. This is Polyfell Productions, and I'm going to be ranking all of the episodes in Season 6 of Thomas and Friends. And I know what you're thinking. Why are you doing a ranking video, and why aren't you starting from Season 1? Because I feel like this is the most necessary, because I've seen a lot more mixed opinions about this season. Some people saying it's good, and some people saying it's a burning pile of trash. So, I think it's got a mid, but maybe my opinions have changed. Let's find out. So, starting up, we have Salty's Secret. Now, this was a very confusing one for me as a kid. I didn't really understand, the secret. I thought he actually had a secret, but it's an okay way to introduce Salty in the show. So, I think it's a B tier episode. It's not bad, but not really that good either. Then we have Harvey to the Rescue. I think that's his title, which I think has to go in D tier. Just not a good episode. I just think it's weird that, all of a sudden, all these characters just hate a character just because they look different. There have been some very diverse shapes and sizes, and all of a sudden they see this dude and they're like, no. I know a lot of people complain about Edward in this episode, but I can complain about every single character in this episode, except maybe Thomas. He's okay, but still. I don't know. I mean, Edward. I know everyone talks about Edward in this episode, but he's barely in it. One thing I don't like is that when everyone's apologizing to him in the end, we don't hear Edward, so he could still hate. Well, I guess he does. Oh my god, I can't talk tonight. Anyway, even though it's not even the night, it's 4:35 p.m. No sleep for Cranky. Was I about to say Clanky? Cranky. No sleep for Cranky. I think it's a good episode. We actually get to build on Cranky. Before this, he was just a terrible person who was rude to the engines, rude to everyone, Yeah, but I'm glad he's actually very relatable in this episode. Because, if I had to be here with some dude who thought he was a pirate, stranded there, I probably would freak out, too. And we go from one of the strongest episodes to one of the weakest. But that's not to say it's bad. It's gonna be above the bad ones. A bad day for Harold the Helicopter. I don't even remember this episode. I must have watched it at some point, because I have watched all of Season 6. But it's a Percy and Harold rival story, and we've had better ones of those. Like the first one and Thomas Percy and the Mail Train are all better examples of Harold and Percy not getting along. Also, they stupidly repainted Harold, and they left his mouth on him, and you can actually see it there. It's kind of bad. But we bounce right back up with another A-tier episode. I'm gonna put it up. I just love Elizabeth. Elizabeth is such a funny character. She would have been so funny in CGI, but for some reason they never brought her back. Yeah, she's a very funny character. Have you learned to drive properly yet? And she's just so unfazed by everything. And she's such a funny character. I love the way she talks. And she's a constant throughout this whole season. I think she appears in Jack Frost, too. And Faulty Whistles. So, yeah. Alright. Next up, we have The Fogman, which I'd say is a B-tier episode. I don't really understand, where Misty Valley is on Sodor. It's never provided in any other episode. And Thomas stupidly thinks humans can be scrapped. Okay, maybe he doesn't know, but, that's just, a glimmer of these characters getting dumbed down. I think Percy got done the most insert dirty Percy joke, but we're not there yet. Yeah. Anyway. Yeah, but I think this is, a glimmering of all the characters getting, becoming one note. And boy, does it get worse later. And now we have my two... I like both of these episodes. I recently got a Trackmaster Kelly. I think he just came, an hour ago. So, I like the pack. I like the pack characters. say this is an A tier episode. It's not that much action other than when Jack topples over and just goes, whoops. Just casually just goes, whoops. Yeah, that got me rolling. And we get introduced to Byron, my Chad. I don't even know how he's in my top 10, but he is. I could talk about the pack in another video, but I'm going to keep it brief. Just in case I ever rank their episodes. And here we have A Friend in Need, which is our first S tier. I love this episode. Jack's strained face is, like, so funny. But besides that, there's a lot of action. We get to see Ned's clumsiness. We get to see Jack's heroism. And we get to see how happy everyone is. Even Isabella, who completely snapped at him, is now happy for him being in the pack. I think that's kind of cute. Now it's only snow, I think, is a tiresome plot that's been done way too much. Thomas hates a snowplow, yada, yada, yada. But you got an already better story. And we even get a better story. I can't believe I'm singing the praises for Thomas, Emily, and the snowplow of all episodes. Which I barely even watched. I think I only watched it once. But yeah, this is not a very good episode. Speaking of not very good episodes, confrontation. Where am I gonna put you? Yeah, I don't like Twin Trouble. This is honestly a garbage episode. Not funny. I don't like... Donald and Douglas are so just unnecessarily cruel to each other. Like, they're, like, arguing, like, the whole time. But that's not my main problem. My main problem is Donald and Douglas themselves, even when they're apart from each other. And Duck's just this awkward middle ground. I think Duck was, like, used as, like, as just a relevant character that they need to be, that if they ever need a spare, was only used sparingly this season. Like, any of his roles could have been played by any other character this season. The World's Strongest Engine, I'd say, it's a B tier episode. I love when Diesel crashes, you hear a ship horn, you know, I always took that, like, he's, like, swearing or something, and they, like, needed to censor it. But other than that, Diesel isn't really being, like, malicious or evil. He's just kind of being a clumsy oaf. And this is kind of the start of where engines just dismiss Diesels. Because what Thomas and Percy say at the end. And this is also some subtle foreshadowing to Thomas and Diesel's rivalry later on in the series. Which part of me still doesn't understand, but that's besides the point. Anyway... Scaredy Engines, I think, is a... Well, it's close, but I think this is an A tier episode. I think it's a great... I like Percy in this. I'm not a big fan of wimpy Percy, usually. I prefer the heroic Percy that's tired of everyone's BS, but it's kind of far gone now. Season 5 was Percy's golden year, not gonna lie. But Percy still gets a lot of attention this year. And I love him and Duck orchestrating a plan to basically troll Thomas. Like, Thomas is, like, so unlikable in this episode, but I've seen people say it's out of character, but I honestly think it's in character, even though Thomas has kind of had a character arc now. He's still cheeky. He still has problems. He's still stubbornly... stupid about a snowplow. He's still very much Jesus Gordon. He's still basically very much Jesus Percy. It's everything around there. Percy and the Haunted Mine is I think a C tier episode, and I don't really remember it much. I'll put it there. I don't really understand why Sir Topham Hatt left the trucks at the abandoned mine of all places, and it's kind of just plot convenience, which will become a big factor if I ever talk about Misty Island, which I'm probably not gonna, but if I ever do, then yeah. Middle engine can rot in F tier where it belongs. Ari and Burr are, like, just not evil anymore, and they're just, like, bullies now. And Sir Topham Hatt is, like, so mean to Percy. Percy had nothing to do with this. Henry shoved him on the thing. If you want to blame someone, you should be blaming Henry. Like, he doesn't even listen to Percy. He doesn't apologize. He doesn't do anything. And then James somehow gets roped into it, only to get basically trolled again. And then ends on this awkward note where I think it's supposed to be a joke. Like, it's like learning to be a middle engine. Like, is that supposed to be like a joke? I don't really know, but that's beside the point. Anyway. I don't really, I think it was like the hot air balloon or Thomas James and the hot air balloon. I don't even remember the title, but it's a good episode. I think it's kind of funny that they managed to convince themselves that some random hot air balloon just doing no harm is somehow gonna get them out of their job. But it's really admirable how stupid Thomas and James are. Unlike the Fogmen, I think this actually works because they're both snotty idiots and entitled. So I think I could see them being that stupid in this situation. Jack Frost is it A tier or S tier? I think it's A tier. Yeah, I'll put it in A tier. This is a great episode. Love to see Elizabeth again. And even though it does have the horrendous, scary Jack Frost from Alec Baldwin. Yeah, Alec Baldwin was kind of bad this year. I know he had like a nasty divorce or something, and he was kind of just out of energy. But that's not really an excuse for me. I feel like these episodes are kind of badly narrated. Like, we lost some of the voices he gave, like, James just became him. Like, he doesn't sound stereotypically gay. You can look that up, but still, say, yeah, that's about it. I like Jack Frost Percy. It was clearly made for merchandising, but not to say it's bad merchandising. Gordon Takes a Tumble is a C-tier episode. I really don't understand the plot of this episode. So, like, Salty wants him, I think that Salty wants Gordon to, like, pull the train. But Gordon doesn't want to. And then wants to show Salty up for some reason. And then ends up crashing. And then he somehow loses his tender. How is he able to move? How is he still going? Yeah, this episode really makes no sense. I don't... Kind of like Percy and the Haunted Mine. And speaking of Percy, Percy's Chocolate Crunch, which is, S tier. Yep, S tier. Love Percy. He's my favorite character. He actually did surpass Splatter and Dodge if you saw my short, but that's besides the point. Oh my god, how many times have I said that's besides the point in this video? If one of you guys, viewers, were, like, keeping a tally, I wonder how that would amount to. But I think the sequence of Percy just keep getting on dirty for some in all these different situations is very funny. I think it's very amusing. And of course the crash is astounding. Like, Percy straight up crashes into things. There are probably people in there making the chocolate. And they probably just get run over in the process. Buffer Bother. Let's say that's a better version of Twin Trouble, but not by that much. I love when Mavis goes, Bill! He's like, we just stood on her. She's like, Bill! It's kind of funny. She's like, shrieks it. And yeah, Bill's a petty and like moping around. It kind of is annoying, but I can look past it because this does seem like something that either Bill or Ben would do. Toby Had a Little Lamb is yet another episode. I don't really remember anything about it. Like, I don't really, like, Toby, like, finds a lamb or something. Like, Okay, maybe I should have watched this episode before filming it because I have a vague memory of every episode except this one. Like, this is the only exception where I have nothing I remember about this episode. Tom Percy and Squeak has the famous Dirty Percy meme, and that alone should get it high. However, it's not that much. I think the scream that Alicia Body has is over the top, but hilarious. Say, I love the peasant, yes I am pleasant line, even though it's only in the UK dub. Yeah. Thomas and the Jet Engine. Is it A tier? S? I think it's S tier. It's way too iconic for me not to put in the S tier. It's very, very good. I think it's a... Again, it was probably only made for marketing, but that's alright on my book as long as it's a good episode, and it is a good episode. Edward, the Very Useful Engine. I don't even know why they put Edward in the title, because this episode is not about him. This is not a good episode. I don't really understand it. Like, so Gordon says something about Edward, okay? Edward doesn't hear it, but Percy does. He tells the Fat Controller, and the Fat Controller organizes some convoluted plan to pay him out, uses Duck as a pawn just to make Edward look good. I told you Duck was used sparingly, but I digress. Anyway, yeah, and then like Gordon's forced to apologize, but doesn't really mean anything because it's like Edward never heard it. Like, he never heard anything. He, like, never heard anything Gordon said. So, like, what was the point of this? I think old, reliable Edward from CGI is better. Duncan is funny title, but an okay episode. I mean, it's not the first... I think it actually is the first time Nancy actually went up the incline, and boy, is it not the last. Anyway, I do think Duncan makes sense to go up the incline because he is kind of stupid. Unlike Scarlowy, who goes up it in season 9 for some reason. I know they were out of character, but still. Rusty... Is this Rusty to the Rescue or Rusty Saves the Day? I think they were both named. There were just both 2 episodes. Had very similar titles, and I always get them confused. But either way, this episode's a D tier. Really sucks. Like... I was genuinely shocked when I saw it. I think David Mitten wrote this, and I'm like, what? Dude, what are you doing? But that's alright. He did write a bunch of good episodes in any season. Well, seasons 1 through 7, he wasn't in any other seasons, but that's... yeah. I don't really understand why he needs to shut down the Skarloey Railway, but keep open a quarry of all things? What service do people have with a quarry rather than going around the island and admiring the scenery? Like, I don't really understand this. The only thing saving it from F tier is probably Elizabeth, because she's funny. But that's about it. Alright. Falsy Whistles. It's just Mike's whistle, but with Duncan. I'd say it's a B tier, not much to say. Anyway. That's it for the Season 6 tier list. If you want to see me do more of seasons that are kind of controversial opinions, split opinions, and let me know in the comments.